Welcome to Bible Fiber, where we explore the textures and shades of the biblical tapestry. I'm Shelley Neese, president of the Jerusalem Connection, a Christian organization dedicated to sharing the stories of Israel's people, both ancient and modern. I'm also the author of the book Bible Fiber, a 52-week study of the 12 minor prophets, available on Amazon. This week's Torah portion is Ki Tissa, which covers Exodus 30:11 to 34:35. It is also the week Jews in Israel and abroad celebrate Purim. Purim is the joyous Jewish holiday that celebrates the survival of the Jewish people in the ancient Persian Empire, after a plot to annihilate them was thwarted by the bravery of Esther and the steadfastness of Mordecai. This week's Torah portion presents a narrative pendulum that swings from Israel's highest high, the giving of the Ten Commandments, to her lowest low, the casting of the golden calf. The Israelites had just seen the presence of God descend on the mountain in a display of fire and cloud. Struck with awe, they committed themselves to obey his commandments. But that resolve was short-lived. When Moses stayed on the mountain for 40 days, the wait felt like an eternity to the people below. Alone in the wilderness and unsure if their leader was ever coming back, their fear led to bad choices. Restless and afraid, they demanded a God they could see and touch. They defaulted to the visual language they had learned over generations in Egypt, where the bull was a symbol of strength and fertility. The Egyptian god Apis was often depicted as a bull. By casting the golden calf, they were trying to force the God who rescued them into a shape they could understand and control. In the absence of Moses, the people turned to Aaron. Aaron was passive, and he went along with the mob. Instead of standing firm, he facilitated the idolatry, even instructing the people to bring him their gold jewelry. When Moses later confronted him, Aaron offered a weak defense. He acted as if the calf had miraculously appeared from the flames. When God witnessed the apostasy, he told Moses that he was done with Israel. He raged, "I have seen this people, how stiff-necked they are. Now let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them. And of you I will make a great nation." The image of a stiff-necked person comes from agriculture. It describes an ox that tenses its neck muscles so it cannot be guided by the reins. God is telling Moses that the Israelites are incapable of submitting to his authority, like a stubborn ox. Moses begged God to spare the stiff-necked people that he leads. He took the exact reason God gave for wanting to destroy them and used it as the reason God must stay with them. He said to God, "Although this is a stiff-necked people, pardon our iniquity and our sin and take us for your inheritance." Another way, probably a better way this passage can be translated, is because this is a stiff-necked people. He is saying that yes, their stubbornness may be a flaw, but it's also a trait of survival. And Moses argued that a God of infinite mercy is the only one who can handle a nation that's this headstrong. The contrast in faith during this episode is staggering. It's the people's faith that's so fragile they can't handle their leader being gone for a month. But Moses' faith was so robust that he asked to see God's very essence. God granted a unique, shielded encounter, hiding Moses in the cleft of a rock and covering him with his hand as he passed by. As the Lord descended and passed before him, he proclaimed his own character in his own words, a moment known in Judaism as the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy. Exodus says, "The Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." This description is one of the few places in the Torah that God defines himself. Having just witnessed a stiff-necked people break the covenant, Moses received the assurance that God's nature is slow to anger, rather than fast to consume. The glimpse of glory was so intense that it physically changed Moses. It caused his face to radiate light when he finally descended with the second set of tablets. You may have seen Michelangelo's statue depicting Moses at this very moment. He portrayed Moses with horns on his head. Not to be anti-Semitic, it was a mistranslation of the Hebrew word for radiating, which is Quran, with the Hebrew word for horn, which is Karen. On the Jewish reading calendar, the portion in Exodus coincides with the celebration of Purim. In the Purim story, we see the good side of the stubbornness Moses described in the people. Mordecai, a Jew living in Persia after the Babylonian exile, famously refused to bow the knee to Haman. The text tells us that Haman was an Agagite, a descendant of the Amalekite king whom Israel was commanded to oppose in every generation. When Haman walked through the king's gate, everyone bowed in reverence, either out of respect or fear. But Mordecai refused. To the Persian officials, Mordecai's behavior was baffling. They asked him day after day why he would risk his life and the safety of his people over a simple gesture. Mordecai's response was simple. He was a Jew. His stubbornness was a refusal to pivot his loyalty away from the one true God. At Sinai, the people's stiff necks prevented them from bowing to God's leadership. But in Shushan, Mordecai's stiff neck prevented him from bowing to an idol of human pride. He proved that the very trait that makes Israel difficult to lead also made them impossible to defeat. When directed towards the Lord, this relentless loyalty becomes a shield that ensured their survival of the nation. Bible Fiber likes to connect the stories of ancient Israel to modern Israel when it applies. I try not to force it, but sometimes, like this week, the parallel is just a flash of the obvious. On February 28, 2026, Israel and the United States struck Iran and wiped out the entire top brass of the leadership. This occurred during the week Jews are celebrating Purim. Haman tried to wipe out all the Jewish people in the Persian Empire. He cared more about killing Jews than he did about anything else. 2,500 years later, a new Iranian regime became strangely obsessed with the Jewish people in the nation of Israel. In 2017, the Ayatollah installed a countdown clock in Tehran's Palestine Square. It was a massive digital billboard that counted down the days until Israel's predicted annihilation. Its timeline was rooted in a 2015 prophecy by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who declared that the Zionist regime would cease to exist by the year 2040. For nearly 9 years, the clock loomed over the city, counting down to 2040. Does this not strike you as a modern parallel to Haman, who built the gallows for Mordecai, but was ironically hung on them instead? If we were still adding to the canon, and I don't suggest that we do, there would surely be a book and an extended holiday telling the story of this modern struggle. It would recount how a Persian dictator made the fatal decision to gather his entire top brass in one above-ground headquarters, at the exact moment that the U.S. had positioned a third of its naval and air assets towards Tehran. How does a leader make such a catastrophic failure of judgment? Like Haman, Khamenei's pride and anti-Israel obsession clouded his judgment, leading him to a sudden end. And how are the stiff-necked people of Israel faring? Their stubborn faith continues to ensure their survival. Even while stuck in bomb shelters and forbidden from large gatherings as Iran rained missiles over many Israeli cities, they stay in costume. They are reading the story of Esther, spinning their groggers, and celebrating the elimination of the most recent tyrant set on their destruction. But may God receive all the glory, all the credit, and all the praise. We are blessed to see the divine hand so obviously at work in the world today, and we are certain that even if our Messiah has tarried in the heavens for 2,000 years, we will not give up on our faith. We will not let go of the thread that connects this all. We will keep our eyes towards heaven and maintain a vigilant awareness of the things God delights in and the things he destroys. God bless Israel, God bless America, and protect us all. Shabbat Shalom and Am Israel Chai.